G'day everyone, we are looking at the 10 best zombie survival games today in no particular order. First up we have Dying Light 2, which is widely known for its amazing parkour combat action, allowing you to fly kick a zombie in the face for the hell of it by yourself, or with up to 4 people in total, so you can all get in on that acrobatic action. The open world will give you plenty of scope to get immersed into the game, with allowing your choices to really feel like they matter, with some choices that will open up more to city and befriend people, while other choices will see parts closed off and them not being too fond of you. Another great aspect is the day-night cycle, with zombies slowing down during the day and generally hiding away from the sun, but then when the night hits you are now hunted and the zombies will happily leave their homes to come eat you. There are fun little tools such as the paraglider that can be upgraded in the game, as well as the grappling hook which you can pull yourself to places, as well as use it in combat to set up some brutal takedowns of zombies. As you progress through the game, you will earn experience to better improve your abilities, going from basic moves all the way up to the more stronger abilities that will help you take on tougher enemies in this open world adventure. The premise of Night of the Dead is that you are playing Lucy, who wakes up after some wonderful experiment and finds herself trapped in a city full of zombies, with the end goal of eventually escaping completely. Night of the Dead, while not procedurally generated, is still open world with a lot to explore, and while exploring is a lot of fun, that is not the main aim of this game. The main aim is to build your base, either by yourself or with friends, and then arm it with all sorts of brutal, and I do mean brutal, traps. You use these in combination with your own weapons to fend off waves and waves of zombies each night, and of course each night progressively gets harder and harder. There is a good degree of customization to the game that you can do to tailor the experience to how you want, making the zombies hit harder or tougher or whatever you like. And I wish more games would have this degree of customization so we can fiddle with the game mechanics to what we actually like. The latest patches for Night of the Dead have also introduced vehicles, which is a fun and exciting addition to the game. As well as this, you also have armor, various types of melee and ranged weapons, and you can all stack this together with different types of traps that you can make, and then upgrading your base on top of this all makes for a very long lasting and I think often overlooked game. Give it a go. I don't think you're going to be disappointed in this one. DeadPoly describes itself as only having one goal, and that is survival. Everything else is optional. And while it doesn't sound fancy or spectacular, it does have hundreds of items to craft, as well as the usual survival mechanics of a hunger and thirst system. If you don't feel like crafting your items, you can always find them throughout the world itself, or just kill the various undead to gather them off. Play it your way, be that by yourself or in multiplayer with mates. Now, DeadPoly is often described as a simple sort of game, and to give the game credit, it is quite cheap at the moment, costing less than 10 Australian dollars, and that is quite the bargain. Currently the game is only being developed by one developer, but he has recently gone full-time with the game and intends to hire more people to help bring what was his hobby but is now his full-time job to life. There is a roadmap in place with plans for things such as skills and perks to add more value to the game. Combine that with the constant addition of items that is currently happening, and no doubt this game is worth adding to people's collections. 7 Days to Die just about has it all for a survival game. Sure, it doesn't have the best looking graphics, but if you can get past that and the fact that it is still in early access, then you are in for a great time. The list of features that it has are extensive, but first, the basic gameplay loop is that every 7 days a horde of zombies will come at night to come and eat you, and during the lead up to the 7th day you are preparing yourself and your base for this. You will be upgrading the materials of your base, adding traps, getting experience for yourself to get stronger and better weapons and armor, as well as improving your skills to do more damage, and we are really only touching very lightly on each of these things, as each thing can be simple or as more in depth as you want. For instance, your base could be just a house that you've reinforced, or you could dig yourself a base into the ground or one of the popular elevated bases. Whatever you choose, you'll want to be making sure you funnel the zombies into some sort of death trap to best suit yourself. The customization of the game is incredible as well, from doing simple things like altering how much damage the zombies do, to how much experience you earn, to how often the zombie horde is. In fact, one of the most fun ways to play I find is setting the horde night to a random day and then feel how frantic every day is, not knowing if today will be the day the horde will come knocking on my doorstep. On top of all this, then we have a very active modding community who have produced some truly amazing mods, complete overhaul mods that will change the way the game feels add whole new elements such as different weapons, materials, vehicles and so on. The modding community is really a credit to the game and have extended the life of 7 days significantly. Project Zomboid is one of the most hardcore zombie survival games you will come across. Sure, the graphics aren't amazing, but we aren't here for the graphics. We're here for a simulator into how long you can survive when zombies have overrun the world. Have no doubt, this game will kill you eventually. From breaking into a house and cutting yourself on the glass, then lead into an infection and then eventual death. In Project Zomboid, you have line of sight, so wherever you are looking is what you can see. Sounds obvious, but it is different to a lot of other top-down games where you can see everything on the screen. So this leads to a lot of dangerous situations, such as walking around the corner of a house to be suddenly confronted by a zombie, or trekking through some bushlands and then there is a zombie out of nowhere which you haven't seen. Zombies can be dangerous by themselves, but in groups they are almost unstoppable, and it's best to put the baseball bat away and just get out of there if you can, all the while trying to make as little noise as possible so you don't attract more of the bloodthirsty undead. The reason people play Project Zomboid is the depth that it has, with an extensive skill system, vehicles, weapons and other various items all to be explored. Find your own little house out of the city, board up the windows, grow yourself a garden full of veggies, and see if you can survive the apocalypse by yourself or with some friends. The list of features for Project Zomboid is quite extensive. Everything from fishing to playing dodgem cars with the zombies, cooking, illness, hunger, thirst, and there's even boredom and depression. Yes, this game is truly The Sims, but with all that zombie goodness. Terminus Zombie Survivors is being published by Indian Games and operates as a 2D turn-based game, but before you switch off, hear me out first. It has an overall rating of 94% on Steam, and so it's obviously doing something right. Turn-based is obviously not for everyone, but this game does have some depth to it. You will need to manage your hunger, temperature, and don't forget to look after your sleep as well. The world is randomly generated and includes permadeath, just to make things a little more brutal for the player. There is a day-night system of course, and while there isn't any multiplayer, you can join up with NPC survivors, trade with them, or just outright steal what they have. The overall goal of the game is to make it to Terminus, where some of the last survivors after the zombie infection are holed up. To get there, you have from over 10 different classes to choose from, with different traits and stats to upgrade, as well as different tools and weapons to choose from to engage in bloody combat, where you choose which part of the body you will actually target. Terminus did recently have a large update at the end of September, which has included a sandbox mode that allows for much greater customization of the game, a heavily requested feature from the community, and it's great that the devs are listening. As well as this all new sandbox mode, there has been a load of new zombies added to the game, new zombie traits, and a whole bunch of new art to the game. This game is definitely worth a look. For a change, we are actually a little prepared for the apocalypse in Dysmantle, with us emerging from our little bomb shelter to see what has happened to the world. And while we are not dealing with zombies per se, with them being called Inhumans, they still look and smell like zombies to me. If this is too much of a stretch for you guys, hey, feel free to let me know in the comments. While the story isn't too complicated, with the overall goal of the game being to simply escape the island, well, that just leaves us more time to concentrate on the fun stuff, such as breaking down the entire world pretty much. With us first starting off with a crowbar that will allow us to break down some stuff, which gets us basic resources, and then we have better items to allow us to break down harder things, and then continue on from there. All the while progressing to our overall goal and collecting all sorts of various items along the way. Dysmantle has more to it than just breaking down 99% of the world though. You can also cook, fish, tame animals. As well as this, there are little puzzles to solve in the game, such as one instance where a spirit deer leads you to a place to actually dig up for some rare materials. And if you ask me, that's kinda cool. There is no hunger or thirst gauge in Dysmantle, which might be a little unusual for a survival game, but this doesn't take away from things to do. With around 60 hours of gameplay to get through, longer if you try to get through all the side quests and break everything down, all up this makes for a very fun, engaging and addictive gameplay. And the cartoony graphics that you can see playing in the background have a certain charm that will most likely appeal to a lot of people. SurrounDead is an open world single player survival game with a very respectful 89% on Steam, and often gets compared to a similar game called DeadPoly, which we also happen to have in our list here today. The good news is that SurrounDead is often updated and a developer has very good interaction with the community, listening to them and seeking to bring in what changes he can in a timely manner, as well as making small little tricks to better improve the experience for everyone. There are vehicles in the game you can use to mow zombies over, ranging from the very comical golf cart to a 4x4 Jeep, which you can drive about, repair, and even open up the boot to store items in. Just be aware that if you're hitting zombies, that it will damage your vehicle, and you don't want to lose that in the middle of nowhere. The good news is that they are easy to repair. The game itself has a lot of villages, traders, bunkers, and all sorts of secret locations to discover to keep you busy exploring the world. To do this, you will want to have a good weapon, and we are in luck because there is a lot of customization available for weapons, and your character itself come to that, keeping you quite busy and helping you adapt to all sorts of situations. There is a day-night cycle as well as environmental effects, so be well aware of your surroundings, because you don't want to be caught out in the middle of the snow. There are skills and quests coming in the game, but they aren't quite here yet, but they are on the roadmaps spoken about in August, as well as an expansion to the map and a greater fleshing out of the items to have a grading system. There is of course bug fixes and other quality of life fixes coming also. All up, SurrounDead seems to have a very passionate developer who is happy to listen and improve on the game, so I don't doubt this will bring it from strength to strength. The art style in Unturned might not be to everyone's taste, but a 91% on Steam suggests that at least a few people might be interested, and the fact that the game is free at least deserves some sort of investigation. There is multiplayer in the game as well as many different game modes, ranging from a battle royale mode to survival mode, each obviously offering a little something different to the player, depending on what you're in the mood for. The good news is there is a lot to do in Unturned. Build yourself a nice little home to keep those pesky zombies out, as well as staying out of extreme environments such as the occasional blizzard. Your home could be an existing structure, or you can simply build your own and outfit it with all sorts of furniture, traps, barricades, and more. If you perhaps want something a little more mobile, then you can also build on your vehicle and turn it into a moving fortress. There is also vehicles to take you into the air, such as helicopters and fighter jets, as well as going into the water with jet skis and hovercraft. If that doesn't whet your appetite, I'm not quite sure what will. We can also put in a nice crop of veggies to keep yourself fed, hunt some animals for materials as well as meat, and try to keep yourself fed with your cooking skill, if you can cook better than I can, which probably isn't hard. Enemies will be drawn to you by motion or if you make too much noise, so be mindful of what is around. They can also have special abilities like breathing fire or invisibility, although they do become visible when they attack. Some will even explode when you defeat them, so plenty to do to keep yourself and your friends busy. You can even join a roleplay server to put bandits in handcuffs and keep the peace, interacting with other players to create a living and breathing world with the idea of people telling the story of their characters. We also have an access to a wide range of weapons, from swords to shotguns to missiles, or if you're feeling like a little bit of a laugh, put down some landmines and blow your friends up. Weapons will have different fire modes as well, with the usual semi, burst and auto fire modes, but we also have a safety mode, so the weapon doesn't fire and your stance even changes to reflect the safety mode, useful for those roleplay encounters. If you're not interested in the official maps, then make your own, as modding is a large part of Unturned and actively encouraged. Welcome to one of the most unforgiving zombie survival games there is. 230 square kilometers of post-Soviet countryside full of the most brutal adversary known to man. Yep, it is man. And there's also some zombies there as well, I think. DayZ was originally developed as a mod for Arma 2, and it definitely earns the title of hardcore survival game. Not only will you have to be worrying about other players killing you for a tin of food, but you also have to survive the environment itself, as well as battling with your hunger and thirst just to stay alive. All the while watching out for wolves, bears, and of course, the infected. This is the game where you'll be wandering about the landscape and all of a sudden die to a sniper you never knew existed, and now you've lost everything you had and have to start from scratch again. The sound in DayZ is quite good and adds to the atmosphere of the game, making you feel like you're really there in post-Soviet zombie apocalypse, with accurate sound telling you if a player is approaching by their footstep sounds. The main downside to DayZ comes from the often long walks and boredom, with nothing happening or trying to meet up with friends where you both have no idea where you are and trying to navigate by landmarks. Some say this is part of the charm of the game, but not everybody agrees with this, of course. All up, DayZ can be an acquired taste and quite difficult at times, but if you enjoy the realism factor and the often brutal way the game is played, and then the rewards at the end, then this could be something for you to check out. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you found at least a couple games here interesting that you might want to play. Let me know if you did, and I'll catch you next time. See you later, guys.